next speaker is the go-to expert on generational engagement. As a social researcher, she knows what makes the younger generation tick and is all about harnessing and integrating their strengths. She's also a media commentator and business consultant. Please welcome Claire Madden.
Well, hello Bendigo Bank. What a joy to be with you this afternoon as we unpack a little bit about the world of Generation Z, our emerging generation of not only our customers but increasingly our staff. They make up about a quarter of the world's population. They're already 1 in 10 in the workforce, and by 2025 they'll be 3 in 10 in the workforce, so they are a generation we need to take a little bit of note of. But you might have noticed that things are changing, and things are changing quite quickly. I was thinking back to when I was at high school, and our maths teacher would say things regularly to us like, "You need to learn how to do this without a calculator, because you will not be carrying one around in your back pocket everywhere you go." Who was told something like that? And now who carries a calculator with you everywhere you go? Needless to say, the times have changed. And when I was interviewing a lot of Gen Zs for this book, one of the girls, Jasmine, born in 1999, she said to me, "Claire, we don't understand the point of memorizing anything. Like, why would we memorize it when we can just look it up?" And I thought right there we see really what I think is a fundamental shift from even our Gen Ys, who are our millennials, to our Gen Zs who've grown up with a smart device within arm's reach pretty much their entire lives. Their use of the smart devices and the internet and the global communication platforms, social media, is ubiquitous for this generation. And I thought, Jasmine's onto something. I think I'm memorizing far less than I used to. Like, I used to know so many phone numbers, and now I hardly know any. I used to know so many different things, and I think the only thing we really need to memorize these days to get through our day-to-day life are our passwords. How many passwords do you need? And I saw this meme, which I thought would be a great solution if we could do this. I just changed my password to incorrect. So whenever I forget what it is, the computer will say, "Your password is incorrect." Not sure if the cybersecurity people will be up with that, but I think it's a nice little strategy. If we go for a little walk down memory lane, it was the mid-90s, we really started using the internet widely, and I remember coming home from school and as an activity you would surf the web. I mean, it wasn't like there was just 4G or everything everywhere. You needed to connect to this thing. And do you remember how you connected? You had to negotiate with the whole family to unplug the one and only phone in the whole house so that you could dial up. That's the sound of a successful connection. It was the era of the internet looking something like this, and it was all one-way content, and boy, we had a whole lot more patience back then. I mean, now if my phone buffers or my computer buffers for a few seconds, I'm like, oh. However, back then, signs like this would regularly come up and it wouldn't faze us. Estimated time left, just 39 years. We'd just leave the room, have a cup of tea, come back. Only 18 years left. I mean, it's moving quite quickly today. In the year 2000, it was an exciting year, the year of the Nokia 3310. Do you remember that? Who had one? Who's still using it? What was your favourite feature of that phone? Snake? Yes, that's the universal global answer to that question. But thinking about the world that our Gen Zs have grown up in. So our Gen Zs were born 1995 to 2009, so they're about 9 to 23 at the moment. And they've grown up with such fast-moving technology, and the world has changed so rapidly in their lifetime, but they've been fully immersed and integrated into it. Now, whilst all the generations are using technology, the age at which we're exposed to the technology is likely to influence how integrated it becomes into our life and how we go about using it. We've got these generations in our workplaces and in our communities at the moment. You've got your builders generation, or your traditionalists, born 1945 and before. And then our baby boomers, 1946 to 1964. Do we have any builders or baby boomers here today? Excellent. What about some Gen Xers born 1965 to 79? Hello, Gen X. Fellow Gen Ys, 1980 to 1994. Have we got some Gen Ys millennials? Excellent. And aren't we doing well? I mean, it's, not even lunchtime yet and we've turned up to a conference. I think we've improved as a generation, if I can say so myself, following our Gen Ys or our millennials because they had the turn of the millennium in their formative years. That's why they've been given that term. And if you're wondering, if you've been confused about who's who, don't worry, the whole world is. No one really knows. But this is our best sense that we can make of it. The next group is Gen Z, 1995 to 2009. Are there any in the room yet? Do we have any Gen Zs? Yes, fantastic. Got a couple perhaps scattered around. And like I said, already 1 in 10 in your workforce. And then after this group, we've got Gen Alpha, who were born since 2010, which was the year that Instagram launched. The first iPads came on in the market just in 2010, in the beginning of our Gen Alphas. But in the workplace, this is what it looks like. Our baby boomers are making up about a quarter of our workforce. But as they're reaching retirement, all the baby boomers just, cheer, they'll be just about 8% by 2025. You can see in that same year your Gen Ys and your Gen Zs who have had their formative years shaped by the internet and those global communication platforms that go with it. They are going to be about 64% of our workforce. And like I mentioned, they're not just becoming our workforce, but they are increasingly becoming our customers and our clients. And so we need to understand, how do we engage them amongst so much change? For our Gen Zs, their idea of an encyclopedia is one they themselves can change and contribute to. They are writing the global encyclopedia. There are over 20,000 new articles written in English every single month. How different is that to what perhaps you grew up with? An encyclopedia that was in book form, but not only that, it was written by a select group of experts. Now, it's the collaborative community, and I think that presents a fundamental shift in terms of the voice that Gen Z have been used to having from a very young age, whether it be on social media or YouTube, where you create the content, to blogs, to collaborating with collaborating with organisations as customers, to writing the encyclopedia. They're used to being able to lean in and have a voice. And I think to engage them in our community bank model and to engage them as in our community, think about how can we create collaboration? How can we listen? How can we have them involved? And I know already the bank do so much because they believe in young people, and so much of what you support in your local communities is that next generation because you obviously believe in them. And I think there's nothing more powerful than when someone in an older generation believes in the potential and invests in the potential of the next generation. And so I would estimate that you are having a far more profound, significant impact on people's lives than you could ever even capture in the interviews and the videos that you do. Every life that you can invest in is making a difference. And that is a language that cuts across all generations. Someone placing value on you, someone speaking into you. And that's what is so inspiring about what you're doing in your community bank model. There are some things, though, that our younger generations, whilst they're so tech-savvy and whilst they've got their Siri is giving them answers to anything and they're Googling everything, there's some things that they won't know. Like in 2035, kids will wonder why the phone app has such a weird icon. They haven't seen those ones that you used to hang up. And as this tweet says, my daughter just asked why we say hang up the phone and now I feel 90. Well, this one, Gen Alpha, will never know the link between these two items. I loved the process of spending a lot of time with Gen Zs and interviewing them about life, because it's so easy to make assumptions and think, oh gosh, they're just disengaged, they're apathetic, they just live life to a soundtrack and on their screens, and they don't care about the world. But actually taking time to listen was so beneficial. And when I asked them about what they want to do, and I asked them about what do they think their work will be like, what sort of job, what will matter to them in their career in the future, what I heard time and time again was some really strong themes. One of them was that they want to enjoy it. Something I'll enjoy doing, not something I'm forced to do. I feel like I'll stay with something I like. Enjoyment was a big, strong motivator for our Gen Zs. And yes, they have grown up in an entertainment-saturated environment. They have grown up in an environment where society's created one that's increasingly convenient and all of that. But they also, they're a very fun generation, and they do what they think, why should I go through life it just being hard? They actually are looking for enjoyment. But not only that, I heard this other theme so strongly, that they want to make a difference in the world. I would like to think I could get a job that would make a difference somehow. So many young people talked about that, and it's all captured in the book that actually every community bank is going to get a copy of Hello Gen Z, which is all about this and has all their quotes in there. And each bank branch is getting one. But they talked about they want to make a difference. Hello, that's exactly what your model is built on. I think what your model is, and I think what you're doing, is actually already so strongly aligned with what motivates and resonates with the next generation, that it's probably a matter of just continuing to tell your story, continuing to get them as advocates and involved, because it so powerfully resonates with what matters to them. A rewarding experience that benefits me and others. They have actually got an awareness out there of the world outside of them, and they want to make a difference. So how do we engage them? As our customers, as our staff. I think we've got to understand a couple of things about them, a few big trends. One is constant connectivity. And when I ask them, how do you go about learning something, or you want to find something out, perhaps you want to find out about a new, who you should be banking with, or whatever it might be, the response I can pretty much guarantee will be, oh, you just Google it. There are over 6 billion Google searches every single day, and it was only in 1997 that Google was registered as a domain. This is what Brooke said. For school, I just Google it. Why go to my textbook? What's the point of flicking through 10 pages in a textbook when you could just Google it? Oh, the burden of the 10-page flick, hey? But again, you see the instantaneous expectation that things are instant, that they don't take time, that it's right there at their fingertips. And I did see this that I thought was relevant if you've got a Gen Z at home, perhaps. Respect your parents. I mean, they passed school without Google. What surprised me was others, and particularly the younger Gen Z, said, oh, I'd just ask Siri. And I found Siri has become the new homework companion. Like, they sit there with their homework and Siri on the iPad or the iPhone, and they ask Siri to define the word that they need, and they write that down. Isn't that amazing? Doing homework with artificial intelligence. I mean, we had mum or dad who were a pretty good resource, but they've just gone straight to Siri. Others said they'd watch a YouTube video, and YouTube is obviously an amazing visual platform where we can get our messages out, where we can communicate so effectively in video form now. But what's also interesting now is we're in such an information overload context that sometimes it's harder than ever to get our message out, isn't it? And you've got a message worth getting out there. I think particularly in this climate, to hear of a bank that is doing so much good for their community is just so refreshing and revolutionary. And yet there are 300 hours of YouTube videos uploaded every minute. And so that's why sometimes it can be hard to keep getting customers or community to pay attention to our message. Others said, oh, I'd ask mum or dad, but they'd probably say, as Maddie said, they'd probably say, just Google it. And so we're kind of back here. I Google it, maybe read the first couple of links that Google gives me, Matt said. I never go past the first page of Google, though. That's about it. And I thought this meme was made for Matt and his friends, that you now know you're desperate for an answer when you look at the second page of Google. That's now digging deep. One of the young guys, Nathan, said to me, he said, well, I wake up with my smartphone alarm, as many of us probably do. And he said, and by the time I've gone to the effort of reaching over to turn off my alarm, I may as well just check my streaks on Snapchat, my Instagram notifications, my Facebook memes, reply to texts on Messenger before I'm out of bed. And this constant connectivity often starts for many before they're out of bed, and it's the last thing that they do before they go to sleep is often social media connectivity. And it taps into, I think, a deep human need, which is to be, we're relational beings and we're deeply social, and this generation are seeing that too. And they've got different technology that facilitates that to some degree, although what we've often got is a situation where we've got a breadth of connections, but perhaps we've substituted that for the depth of relationship. And what I found in the research and what we're seeing is that actually, whilst these connections are amazing and we can reach more customers and we can reach more friends and everything, on a broad level, it's not satisfying the deeper needs for intimacy and belonging and acceptance and all of that, which real relationships do. And again, being in your community, supporting the local sports clubs, all of those things, being present, that will never be replaced by double tap, scroll, double tap. It will never be replaced. What you're doing is profoundly needed, what you're supporting. What I found fascinating is how many unwritten rules there are in how to use all these platforms, and perhaps we need to be on these platforms because it's a new place where people hang out, and we need to be, of course, creating real, authentic offline community as well. But I found probably it's worth getting a Gen Z around us to help us know how to use each platform, because there's so many unwritten rules that I don't even know, and my generation feel left behind in as well. And here's one example. Texting rules. You cannot send a sentence with a full stop at the end because you look mad. Or K dot for okay because you look angry, like I'm done with you. A dot is like, don't talk to me, I got my point across, but I don't want to reply because I dotted you. Simple punctuation and grammar to one generation, right? Means something entirely different to another. So it is always worth taking the time to listen and to understand the nuances of each different age group and generation. And what I found also fascinating is the language they create. Faster than ever, they're creating new words. I mean, we finally learnt dabbing, and then they're like, oh my gosh, dabbing is so done. And so I've got a little list here, only of 12 words for you. But with someone around you, I want you to see how you go in about 30 seconds of working out, can you speak Gen Z, okay? Here's some words. Don't worry, because the book that you're all going to get one of at your branch, and you can get more just at my website if you want more, but the last chapter is a glossary of how to speak Gen Z, so you're going to be totally fine. But here you go. Here's some. We've got lit, TBT, SEBS, goals, HRU, IDC, ILI, IRL, RN, salty, throwing shade, and POS. I promise you there's no swearing in there, although they do sometimes swear in acronyms. I want you to take 30 seconds. Someone around you, can you speak Gen Z? All right. Let's go through these together. Let's see if we can go from the top. What do you think lit is? Great. Yeah, really cool, really awesome. So if your branch is lit, that's what you want it to be. It doesn't mean it's actually there's been a fire. It actually means it's awesome. Okay, what have we got here? TBT? Throwback to or Throwback Thursday. So if you post something on your Instagram from like last month when you were in New Zealand on a holiday, that you'd say TBT. Yeah? Good. Sebs? Can't even be bothered. Goals? Goals is just what you throw at the end of any word that is like something you're aspiring to. So you see someone who's really fit and you just say fitness goals. Someone with perfect hair, hair goals, you know? And so there you go. They might now have banking goals. Who even knows? They could. HRU? How are you? Yes. And don't worry, there's HBU. How about you? Even though about starts with an A, I think it went out the door with full stops. IDC? I don't care. Illy? I love you, yes, but it's not used for like romantic love. They basically will end a lot of texts with illy, kind of like just like thanks. They said there's stages. There's illy, then love ya, then love you. So that's where illy sits in the scheme of things. IRL, in real life, which makes me wonder about the other life, in virtual life. RN. Right now, salty, you're a bit cranky, a bit moody, you're feeling salty, perhaps because someone's been throwing shade. Anyone got an idea of what that is? Yeah, talking about someone being slack, bagging someone out, you're throwing shade. If it gets really harsh, then you're savage, so hence why you then might be feeling salty. And POS? Point of sale is a great guess. But are you ready? It is parent over shoulder. That's a good one to know at home as well. But this is what Matt said. He said, I think people are starting to lose the person-to-person interaction. And they're losing the manners that are associated with talking to people face-to-face because of the amount of communication that happens online. We're losing the ability to have a conversation face-to-face. And haven't you noticed it? Haven't you experienced it? And what I found, though, before we go, oh, they don't want to talk to people, that generation, actually they do. Actually, they often haven't built the confidence or the skill to know how to carry on a conversation with a stranger that they don't know. They often haven't got the confidence up because they haven't had that much practice, because so much of their communication has been screen-mediated communication. It's between them and someone else via a screen. And they've become very comfortable with that kind of communication. It's kind of like having a security blanket. But you take that out and they feel vulnerable, they feel exposed, and sometimes they don't know what to do. And so what we need to understand is that they actually want real face-to-face, but sometimes we need to help facilitate how that looks. And sometimes they won't instantly and initially have the same level of skill in that as perhaps older generations who did have a lot more time sitting around the family dinner table, perhaps without screens, and more time playing with kids over the back fence. Or numbers of young people said to me, life was better when we got to ride bikes outside. It was better before social media, but now we're addicted to it and we don't know what to do. And there's a lot of complexity as to why they use it so much, and I don't have time to go into it, but it's in the book. But you can see that it's not as simple as, oh, how annoying, they're just on their phones. For them, a lot of their validation, a lot of their social belonging and everything is connected to this online, offline world. And so we need to, I think, bridge both worlds and work out how to do that well. A quick little activity for you. You need someone next to you. And when I say 1, you will look at them and you'll put your left palm like this. On 2, you'll put your pointer finger to the ceiling. On 3, it will go in their hand, but their finger will be in your hand. So it will sort of look like this, right? But you'll have your finger in theirs and theirs in yours. And then on 4, but not until I say 4, you want to get your finger out of their hand, but you've got to catch their finger, okay? So on 4, you get your finger out, but you catch theirs. We're going to have 3 rounds of it. Find a partner. Okay. Okay, are we ready? Okay, 1, left palm out. 2, point a finger to the ceiling. 3, your finger in their hand. And 4. Okay, another 2. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, finally, 1, 2, 3, 4. Very good. And I think it was only about a third of the room who went before I said 4 on the last time. But you knew it was coming, so what that little activity reminds me of, the eruption of laughter and engagement in the room just then, with a 30-second activity is so different than if I'd said to you to get out your phones and scroll Instagram or play Candy Crush Saga or whatever you like to do. And what it reminds me of is that whilst digital might be default, and whilst technology has enabled greater efficiencies, increased productivity, meant seamless transactions, it's meant greater widespread communication, many positive things it's enabled. But let us not think that it will ever replace what can be done person to person. And as you're so active in your community and as you're creating all that face-to-face and engagement, it has an impact in this digital age, I think beyond what we probably realise, so keep it up. Another, I guess, trend is that they're lifelong learners. They will need to be lifelong learners, actually, as all of us are, and will need to continue to be. They'll be the most formally educated, with 59% of Australians now having some kind of post-school qualification. And it's estimated that 1 in 2 Gen Zs will go on to be university educated at some point in their life. They'll also have more jobs, working in an estimated 17 jobs across perhaps 5 careers in their lifetime. And working in many jobs that don't even exist yet. And that's really a result of disruption and the innovation that's occurring in this environment. And we've seen a lot of disruption. Of course, it's in every era, but we've seen sort of an acceleration of it. Remember when the CD came out and disrupted and really wiped out the need for LPs and cassette tapes? Well, sometimes I think we can feel like the CD. We've innovated, we've changed, we've got online, we've created a social media account, whatever it is, and that's all good. And I feel like, oh, we've done it, we've changed. And then this happens. Spotify or music streaming, or it's an entirely different business model where you don't even purchase a product anymore, but you, in terms of a hard copy of a CD, but actually just experience whatever music you want, wherever you are, just experience on demand. And shifted a business model. I don't know what we're going to hand down to our grandkids. I don't think it's going to be our record albums or our CD collection. It might be your credit card number and your Spotify login. Disruption and innovation will continue to change the nature of work, the types of jobs we do. It will replace certain jobs. New jobs will be created as well. This is remote surgery, where surgeons in one country are operating real time on a patient in another country, which is possible through technology. And again, technology I think it's an exciting era to be alive. It's an exciting era to be running businesses and engaging with our communities in new ways. This is a digital contact lens which has been patented by Google and will be able to measure blood glucose levels from tears. You've got 3D printing, artificial intelligence, so much. But what's the impact? It's leading to very empowered, informed consumers. Before they've walked into a branch, they've probably Googled you, watched YouTube videos, read reviews, heard word of mouth. So much goes on now, and the expectation just seems to keep increasing. The way that consumers are now is that they measure their customer experience that they have with you against the best customer experience they know is possible because they've had it somewhere else. And we've got this experience on demand thing where we can summons an Uber. We've got the share economy where suddenly our homes or our cars can become a a platform to share with others, but also make revenue. It's leading to the gig economy where people will have multiple jobs at once, multiple gigs or short-term contracts. We've seen that. We've seen offline-online convergence. So whilst I'm shopping, I can just check what's the cost of that dress online whilst I'm standing in a physical store. Or can I create that new bank account just on my phone? I'm talking to you in the branch, but I might want to go home and just do that, or do that at a cafe. It's this convergence between online and offline like we've never seen. Customer company collaboration, like we talked about collaboration before, and you've got Lego who say, hey, you can come up with the next Lego idea for the next Lego set. Then get 10,000 supporters of your idea, and then the review board will look at it and may or may not go with it, but what they've just done is outsourced their creativity side, their advertising side at the same time, and got all these kids engaged with the brand. Because people want to collaborate, they want to be part of it, which is, I think, another strength of your model where you're already in the heart of community. And what can you do to continue to collaborate with your community more and more? People are aware, and they are environmentally aware. Husky Cups is a new innovation out of Australia, which is made from the coffee husks, which were creating just huge amount of waste. And now they've made the coffee cup out of the coffee husk. So clever, environmentally aware, and so forth. People are used to personalisation and rewards, personal tracking and frictionless transactions, removing the barriers and the blockages between them and a transaction. But this is the result. This is what Oliver said. I think our attention span is extremely short. And anything that catches our eye distracts us with so much stuff going on. I think it might be a bit difficult when we get jobs. Oliver, I think you might be onto something. But hopefully today what you've heard is that this generation have incredible abilities and skills and a heart to want to make a difference, to want to contribute. And I think that with the power of you believing in them, as you're already doing, investing in them, we can see so much more than an apathetic generation. That I don't believe they are. I believe that they're an incredible generation. But we can activate their potential, unlike this guy who couldn't be bothered moving the side of the stick to paint the side of the road. So thank you so much, and all the best in continuing your fantastic work. Thank you so much.